William Morrow and HarperAudio present The Women's March, a novel of the 1913 Women's Suffrage Procession by Jennifer Chiaverini, performed by Saskia Maarleveld. Prologue. October 19th, 1912. Brooklyn, New York. Wilson.
On behalf of the Democratic Campaign Committee of Kings County,
declared the tall, fair-haired Scotsman behind the podium at center stage, his powerful brogue rising dramatically over the cheers of the assembled throng.
It is my great honour and privilege to welcome the former president of Princeton University, the current governor of New Jersey, and the future president of the United States, the Honourable Woodrow Wilson.
The cheers rose to a roar as Wilson emerged from the curtained wing and crossed the stage to meet Chairman McLean at the podium, the smells of tobacco, damp wool, and perspiration wafting from the audience, almost as blinding as the glare of the footlights. The venerable theatre was packed to the rafters, attesting to McLean's ability to muster up voters as well as Wilson's own renown as an orator and statesman. When he and his entourage had arrived at the Brooklyn Academy of Music not long before, their driver had been obliged to halt half a block away, the automobile's progress impeded by a crowd of hundreds holding tickets aloft and pushing their way into the packed front vestibule. A team of police officers had been obliged to clear a path from the automobile to a side entrance. As Wilson shook McLean's hand and murmured his thanks, he noted with satisfaction that those same eager men now filled every seat and spilled over into the aisles, applauding, waving their hats in the air, shouting his name. He hoped their enthusiasm would carry them to the polls come November 5th. Not only these wildly applauding men, but also vast droves of voters of a similar temperament, all dissatisfied with the incumbent, hankering for change, but wary of radicals. Wilson was their man. He took the podium, raised his hands, and nodded to one section of the house and then another, modestly acknowledging their ardent welcome, while also seeking order, mildly surprised to see a few ladies scattered among the gentlemen. As soon as his audience had settled down, he launched into his stump speech, well practiced by now, so late in the campaign, but even more urgent than when he had first announced his candidacy. Their democracy was failing ordinary Americans, he warned. All governmental power was monopolized by a few corrupt men who controlled the system utterly and for their own benefit. Yet an even greater monopoly, rarely mentioned elsewhere in the campaign, threatened to— "What about votes for women?" someone interrupted from the balcony. It was a woman's voice, full and musical, with an Irish lilt. Wilson abruptly fell silent as heads craned and murmurs arose, a ripple of confusion and annoyance and disgust. Stepping out from behind the podium and approaching the front of the stage, Wilson scanned the upper seats until his gaze fell upon a fair, auburn-haired woman, dressed in a purple shirtwaist and a hat adorned with a yellow feather. She awaited his response, her gaze fixed on his, determined and utterly devoid of deference. And yet there was something warm and appealing in her expression, too. Slender and apparently in her mid-30s, she would probably be quite pretty if she smiled.
"What is it, madam?"
he called up to her over the grumbles of the crowd. "You say you want to destroy monopolies." Her eyebrows rose, signifying the innocence and eminent rationality of her query. "I ask you, what about women's suffrage? Men have a monopoly on the vote. Why not start there?" The audience snickered.
"Sit down,"
someone groused loudly from the back.
"Women's suffrage, madam, is not a question for the federal government,"
Wilson explained patiently, clasping his hands behind his back. He felt almost as if he were back at Bryn Mawr, addressing a class of lovely but tragically uncomprehending female pupils.
"It is a matter for the states. As a representative of the National Party, I cannot speak to this issue."
"But I address—"
Sample complete. Ready to continue?